Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And I'm back because there's so much going on at the moment, both on a government level and a personal level, and on a global level. Remember, as I said, you know that your government is preparing to get involved in a war, or to go to war, or to participate in war, or to incite a war, or to, in generally, just go to war. When your resources are being siphoned off, and you can see that very clearly that our resources are being siphoned off, not just in Pakistan, which, as always, is being forced into a war that it has nothing to do with, but then you have Europe and America that are behind this whole war agenda. And that is why now Europeans will also suffer very badly. All those resources that they had taken for granted, even though Europe actually is not rich on resources and has always depended on import of resources. But the fact remains that Europe has taken those resources for granted. So Europeans will suffer, Americans will suffer, Canadians will suffer. You will have all kinds of inflation, all kinds of shortages, simply because your governments, our governments, are basically stealing from us, siphoning from us. They're gathering all these resources, they're gathering the materials, they're gathering all the money, which again they're stealing from us, just to just to stroke their ego, and their greed for war. And because of that, as you can see, we have a rise in bills. For example, if you look at our gas bill, our actual gas bill is only 700 and something rupees, but the money that we are being forced to give a fixed amount, there is a fixed amount now set that no matter what your bill is, you have to pay this much extra, and that is almost 2000. It's about between 1500, something like that. Now imagine that we have actually got a bill. People are actually getting bills worth 60,000 to 80,000. Okay, and this is for gas, which is the cheapest, most abundant resource in our country. Gas, which can never, ever, ever exceed 1,000 or 2,000 rupees. People, homeowners, individuals are getting 60 to 80,000 rupees in gas bills. Again, this is what in our language we call bhatta. Bhatta is that money that you that the thugs of your area, they come and they force you to give a sort of a rent payment for just living or for existing in that area or for starting a business in that area. So that is bhatta. They like to dress it up very prettily and call it an allowance, but a bhatta is actually such a word that is also used in English, by the way, as well, even though the term itself is Urdu. Now imagine that you have to pay a sort of an allowance now to the government just for existing. As if that wasn't enough. Every single person, as I said, my basic lamentation is that people usually would adjust themselves when situation gets bad, and they try to, do things, make things easy for everybody else and for themselves, and try to make the situation better. But our people, they just show their worst sides. Their carelessness, their inconsideration for others, their unethical practices, their ego, their narcissism, it becomes overblown. I mean, look at how irresponsible our people are. Is that the other day I went to the pharmacy just to replace the batteries, and they lost the backside, the back cover, the battery cover, imagine, of the blood pressure monitor. And now they have lost it, but they're not taking responsibility for it. I have to take responsibility for it. It's suddenly my fault that I trusted them with the machine or with the equipment. And now, similarly, you have the National Savings Center, which is directly under the government. That means that is actually, it belongs to the state. It is run by the government. It is run by the finance minister, basically. So, in other words, he is in charge of the national savings scheme in Pakistan, where basically through bonds and certificates, you invest in national savings and you get profits, and it's mainly for retired people, for senior citizens. And imagine that they do not even have the common decency to tell their clients if their certificates are expired. Okay, so clients have actually gone by without even knowing that their certificates have been expired for months, even though those clients actually make regular monthly visits to the savings center. And suddenly, when they find out, the savings center very calmly claims that it's not our responsibility to tell you if your certificate has expired. It's your responsibility. I was like, you should have asked them, why the frack do we have our certificates and bonds with you? Why don't we just keep them at home? Why don't we invest ourselves? You are taking care of these bonds and certificates. You issue them, you renew them, you pay investment on them, you invest them for us. That is what you do, and yet you're saying that it's our responsibility to see and check if something has expired or not. Amazing. And the clients have been hit by huge losses. I mean, imagine going 4 months without knowing that your certificate has expired. The value is in terms of lakhs. The loss that you have incurred is in terms of lakhs. Okay, that means hundreds and thousands of rupees, right? So, and they're just so calmly, saying, oh, it's not our problem. They are so stupid and they're so unethical and they are so unprofessional that they couldn't even link your savings to your account, to your actual account. They didn't even have that resource, and this is something that belongs to the government, and they're talking about centralized system and this and that. You've become a centralized system, but you still don't even know how to be attached to another account of another bank. You do not even do any auto deposits into the account of the person whose savings you are investing and making profits from. So this is, I mean, look at the situation here in Pakistan, that every single person is telling you that you are the one at fault for trusting them. They're literally telling you that you are the one to be blamed for trusting them to do their job. It's highly pathetic that you have such a thing going on in Pakistan. I mean, obviously now the rest of the world will begin to face it. The difference is the rest of the world, because they've never faced such a thing for almost a century, they are not going to be able to live with that. But in Pakistan, because we have faced it for at least half a century, and it's only getting worse, so our reaction to it will be, that most people will say, oh yeah, well, it's always happened. So what if it's happening on a larger scale now? So again, we will see how our people sleepwalk through this whole situation. You know, although obviously the new generation, as I said, my generation and the new generation, we are too pissed off to sleepwalk. But unfortunately, because we are still subjugated by the older generation, in the government also we've got the older generation, and then we've got, you know, the the corrupt families bringing their corrupt children ahead, and they're not amongst us. So generally, my generation and the younger generation, we have been screwed, forever, and we have no way out. And this is how the situation is getting, that now we don't even have a choice. Before, Pakistan was always, effed up, but you had a choice of going abroad. Now, even if you go abroad, what do you find there? Canada's just as effed up. America's totally effed up. Europe is totally not livable. Seriously, I would never consider Europe livable. And then we've got just a few islands remaining, and those islands too, you've got the same corrupt elites eyeing those islands. So where can one go? If you want to choose those countries, which to me are always ideal, those countries that are not part of your geopolitics, that are well away from all of this shit. The thing is that to reach those countries is not easy. You don't even have any direct flights to those places. You again have to go through half the world in order to get to that place. It's not easy. Imagine that in the olden times, when we didn't have frequent flights and we didn't have airports everywhere, it was actually easier to travel. And now, when we've got all these means of transport, it's actually more difficult to travel. This is, and it's become more expensive. It should have been cheaper now to travel, but it's actually even more expensive now to travel. So such is the situation right now. And I think that it is really, again, our people's fault that we have allowed, people to rip us off. We've allowed people to be careless with our things. We've allowed people to be unethical, unprofessional. And I think we should stop that now. And for example, we have a group on Facebook which is known as the Voice of the Customer. And over there, you see so many people who are so fed up, so frustrated on what's going on. And as I said, even the international companies, when they come to our country, they take full advantage of the situation and they also try to rip us off. For example, if you look at IELTS, first of all, shouldn't even be necessary in a place like Pakistan, where we are the third largest English speaking country in the world, number one. Okay, but just to make money, if you do want to, shove IELTS on us, at least try to be a little more honest, in your practices. For example, this girl, she actually had her IELTS exam in a center and she went there way before time. And she was told that yes, there was enough time, so she didn't have to worry. And she just, went out of the lounge for like 5 minutes. And when she came, she was actually still on time. She was still on time, but her seat was given to somebody else. And they didn't even give her a refund. And they started blaming her for the fact that they did not give her the correct information, because she specifically went to the reception, to the desk, and she asked the person, about the timing, and she specifically asked him if it was okay if she stepped out for 5 minutes. And he told her that yes, there was still a lot of time, nobody had entered, and she was early and this and that. And yet when she came back, that person suddenly did refused to take responsibility for the fact that he gave her wrong information. And the very conveniently, the center pinned everything on her, so she's the victim, and she is being pinned on the responsibility of their fault, their unethical behavior, their unprofessional behavior. Their fault was pinned on her. And she was like, and look at this is the example I'm going to show you of how our people have been in this society. That many people were telling her, oh, you know what, now you have to live with it, forget it. You can't do anything, you don't need to do anything, just pay all over. I know it's hell of expensive, but just pay it all over again and do it again. And I was like, what the frack is wrong with you people, that even now, despite the fact that Pakistan is basically collapsed because of this attitude, both by the victims, by the witnesses, by the onlookers, by the advisors, and by the people who have created the mess. Everybody, as I said, this is something I've ranted about in the past, as how, if you have a rickshaw wala and you bump into the rickshaw wala, bumps into you, he scrapes your car, he causes you an accident, the whole world will come around and say, oh, don't worry, he's poor, he's such a poor person, he's in a rickshaw, you're in a car, let him go. And if it is a rich dude who comes and smashes into your car, everybody's like, oh, what can you do against him? He's a rich dude. He'll just stomp all over you. Let him go. So let them go because they're old. Let them go because they're young. Let them go because they're rich. Let them go because they're poor. What the frack is going on in this mother fracking country? Seriously. So, I, for one, have a huge problem with this. And I told her, I'm like, listen, make noise. Go and tell them, take their photos, okay, make it a point to take their pictures, take their names down, ask them your questions again, repeat what happened, email British Council, email even England if you have to, and tell them, what the frack are you people doing? Is this how you do business? Is this how you've decided to rip us off? That this happened and nobody's taking responsibility. I'm the victim and I'm made to take responsibility and I have to pay for it all over again. Frack you, screw you, man. And I saw that many people agreed with me that yes, she should do something about it. And I had a huge problem with those people who were telling her, oh, forget it now, just leave it, and some people actually even had the gall to tell her that it was her fault for trusting the man at the reception desk and walking out, you know, for 5 minutes. I mean, imagine. So, as I said, blaming the victim. In our society, we are blaming the victim for being victimized. This is a place where people, your own banks scam you. You know, to me, this is nothing short of a scam. What National Savings Center just did to its clients, it's nothing short of a scam. That you literally are being trusted with their investment, with their money, with their profits. And you say it's not your responsibility and it's not your duty to inform them if the certificate that you issued, it's your certificates, you issue them, and you're saying it's not your problem and it's not your responsibility, it's not your duty to inform them that that their certificates have expired. Seriously, what the frack is wrong with you people? And then we have the banks again, the fact that they are literally uh, playing with your money, investing your money, and then they act as if you owe them when actually they owe you. As I've said before, I think the time for rendering banking systems obsolete has come. It came a long time ago. The fact that you cannot trust banks with your money, the fact that you cannot trust National Savings Center, which actually belongs to the state, with your money, the fact that you cannot trust anybody to take their duties and responsibilities seriously, that tells you that I think we need to go back to the old days where we literally keep cash at home in a secret basement or something. Or maybe we should just go mafia style, like how the mafias, they've got their own private personal underground banking where everything is completely safe as it is, and there is no entry, and there's no way anybody can hack their system because it's not digital as such, and there's no way that any unknown person can approach the other person's vault. So I think we need to opt for that because there's nothing more secure than that. So we really need to reprioritize. As I've said it time and again, we need to reprioritize ourselves. We need to reprioritize our society's needs and wants. And I think it's about time because, as you see, like even our government has already been stealing from us in the form of bills as well. We are getting, as I've said before, our actual bill is, for example, look at our gas bill. Gas, which is the cheapest resource ever in Pakistan, where you would never get more than 1,000, 2,000, you know, um, in the dead of winter. Now people are getting up to 60 to 80,000 individuals, homeowners. They're getting 60 to 80,000 in bill. And look at our actual gas bill. If you look at just my own gas bill, it's 770 rupees. But there's a bhatta, there's a fixed rate, fixed amount that I have to pay regardless of whatever my bill is. They've added it into this now, and that is almost 2,000 rupees. Right? It's about 1,500 something or 1,700 something like that. So imagine almost 2,000 rupees is just the fixed amount, the bhatta that the thugs are literally stealing from us. That you have to give this. And when it comes to electricity, we don't even have light. Even right now, as I am speaking, there is no light. Every hour, every alternating hour, we have power outages, and yet we are paying bills for electricity that we don't get. Those of us who own solar systems, because of that, they're deliberately sort of also doing it because whenever there's no light, you cannot sell. When you cannot sell, then obviously you're not, you're not gaining anything. So if half the day you're not even selling electricity to the government, what are you getting at the end of the day? You're going to get billed. Apart from that, as you know, they're already trying to force solar system owners to almost give them the electricity for free and buy electricity from the government or pay bills basically to the IPPs at the rate of, they're trying to reach to a rate of 9,000 per unit for solar PV. So I mean, imagine that for solar owners, what this means, that you just wasted your money trying to get clean energy and trying to reduce your bills because at the end you're still going to be billed by the government. So when your government is blatantly stealing from you, it's understandable and it's understood, there's no question about it, that they need to go to war and they want you to pay for it. We need to take steps against that. So this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.